Alright, so in this video I'm going to be talking about the differences between extroverted and introverted thinking. My name is Solomon, I'm a music producer and artist, and this channel that I created was mainly to talk about typology related content, but now I'm expanding it to be more of a personal branding, but also to build a community around typology and self-development in general. I also want to start talking about other things like philosophy, economics, music, film, and just general pop culture and all that. So yeah, let's just jump right into this. If you want to be part of the community, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. You can join the community on Facebook. I call the community the members, the surmounters. It's a great place if you want to join and find people who are like-minded, who also want to grow in self-development. It can be either in finance and fitness, in relationships, whatever it is you want to improve in, this is the community for you. So now let's just jump right into this. Before I talk about the differences between introverted and extroverted thinking, I actually want to talk about the similarities. Both cognitive functions, or information metabolism elements, IME for short, they're both decision-making functions, as in they're both trying to or concerned with acquiring information and then deciding on the information that they've acquired. Both of them are trying to make decisions in the logical realm as opposed to the feeling realm. The feeling realm is basically the realm of values. What is important, what is not important. That's introverted and extroverted feeling. But we're going to be talking about the thinking functions here. Thinking is all about trying to obtain the truth. And that's the similarity between the two cognitive functions. Now, in a lot of different communities, you're going to hear that extroverted thinking is all about, it's all about being objective, while introverted thinking is all about being subjective. While it is true that introverted thinking is subjective, being subjective doesn't necessarily mean that it's not true. Both extroverted and introverted thinking are concerned with the truth. In other communities, you'll hear it's actually introverted thinking that's all about the truth, while extroverted thinking is all about perceptions and how things seem like. But again, perceptions and how things look is in the realm of a perceiving function more so than a decision-making function. So both extroverted and introverted thinking are aiming to obtain the truth. Now, how they differ is just how they go about achieving that goal, how they go about determining what is true. Better put it. Now, another myth that I want to dispel is the idea that introverted thinking complicates things, extroverted thinking simplifies, or vice versa. I've actually heard also that extroverted thinking is actually what complicates, while introverted thinking is what simplifies. Neither one of that is true. The truth is, both TE or TI can simplify or overcomplicate information, but the reason why they do it is very different. And that's what we're going to talk about, the reason why they do what they do, as opposed to what is being done. And here's the part where we start talking about the differences between TE and TI. Extroverted thinking, TE for short, aims to be simple in its communication if it believes that simplicity will aid it in achieving its goal. So extroverted thinking type might believe that, all right, my goal is to communicate successfully. Success being defined as the ability to make the other person understand and fully comprehend what the communicator intends to transmit. The extroverted thinker might know that if I communicate in simple words, use a vocabulary that is familiar to the people that I'm speaking with, that the chances of me achieving success, which is the person understanding, is going to be high. So an extroverted thinker in that case is going to simplify information, simplify their vocabulary, simplify whatever it is that they're trying to communicate in terms of the logical realm to another person. So there it's simplifying as opposed to complicating. Now, high extroverted thinking types do have a habit of what I like to call information dumping. It's like they'll talk to somebody and then they'll just dump a whole bunch of data, a whole bunch of facts on the person. That can happen, but at the same time, if the extroverted thinker has decided, all right, I need to communicate effectively, so I'm going to simplify the language, that's what's going to work, they'll actually do that. For the TI type, they will communicate in simple language when they believe that simplified communication helps them stick true to the core principle of the thing that they're trying to understand and comprehend. Now let's talk about another difference, a big, huge difference, which is how they go about verifying or deriving what is true versus what is false. The extroverted thinker determines truth through application and demonstration, whereas the introverted thinking type determines what is true by its adherence, I mean the information and how it adheres to core principles that the introverted thinker has decided is, in fact, what the information needs to adhere to. Extroverted thinking type, assuming that it's in its purest form, that doesn't have the influence of introverted thinking, because every single human being uses both. We all use extroverted and introverted thinking except for specific types. So if you want a great example of pure extroverted thinking without the influence of introverted thinking, you should study the ENF and ESFP. You study those two types because they have TE mobilizing and TI vulnerable, or should I say TI polar. That's a more familiar term that people understand. TI polar. In those types, they express extroverted thinking in its purest form without the influence of introverted thinking. Now, if you want to understand introverted thinking in its purest form without the influence of extroverted thinking, study the INFJ and the ISFJ, the types with TI mobilizing and TE polar. Now, let's talk about some of the fields of study that you'll find extroverted and introverted thinking. I think it's really cool when you see things this way, because you can immediately identify when introverted thinking is being communicated in a group setting and when extroverted thinking is being communicated. So extroverted thinking may come as no surprise to people who already know about the cognitive functions, but finance is a great field of study for extroverted thinking types. Extroverted thinking is really on full display in the financial sector or industry. Now, when I talk about finance, it's different than accounting, because accounting is where you find a lot of introverted thinking. But in the realm of investments, portfolio management, or even farming, if you look at farming, there's a relationship between farming and investing, because as a farmer, you're going out, you have your field, you have different segments of the field dedicated to specific types of plants or specific types of crop, and you're trying to make it grow. And that's a huge thing about extroverted thinking, is that it segments the external world. Extroverted thinking, you'll find it a lot also in marketing. Whenever you're segmenting audiences to market your content to, that's a use of extroverted thinking. Whereas economics is more introverted thinking, because it's more concerned with adherence to logical principles and understanding the realm of the economy through logical principles, whether that be Keynes' interpretation economics or whoever. Doesn't matter. The specifics there don't really matter. But the point is that you find it in different fields, and you can very clearly see it. Another place where you find extroverted thinking is in the realm of fitness. Anything that involves formulaic thinking is going to be a display of extroverted thinking. Now, you'll find formulaic thinking in mathematics, but you'll also find principled thinking in mathematics as well. So when it comes to fitness, because I mentioned that earlier, when it comes to understanding, okay, like what's your BMI, how many calories do you need to take, how many, like what types of food should you eat, and so on and so forth, creating a comprehensive fitness diet plan or whatever, that's a great example of extroverted thinking. You find actually extroverted thinking a lot in the fitness realm. Introverted thinking, you'll find it a lot in computer programming and coding. I think that's pretty obvious. You guys already knew that. A great example of introverted thinking also is, so you'll find, now this may come as a surprise to most people, but introverted thinking is really present in business. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, extroverted thinking is business heavy. Now, if you're new, if you've never heard of extroverted or introverted thinking, you probably won't know this, but the stereotype goes that extroverted thinking is in the realm of business most of the time, but introverted thinking there's a lot of introverted thinking in business. Whenever you find the model that attempts to explain activities or information or organize the information, that's immediately introverted thinking. For example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that model is a display of introverted thinking. SWOT analysis, introverted thinking. The construction of balance sheets, cash flow statements, all of that, the framework of it is introverted thinking. Now, what goes in and out of it is not introverted thinking, but the framework of it is introverted thinking, and that's the thing about introverted thinking is that think about it like it's trying to identify the logical frame. Now here is where introverted thinking might be confused for introverted intuition. Introverted intuition and introverted thinking both are trying to organize information, but introverted intuition is more so trying to organize personal meaning, symbolism, or create symbolism out of collective experiences that people have had in order to predict the unfolding of events. Whereas introverted thinking is not really concerned with prediction in any way whatsoever. It's not concerned with symbolism. It's by itself, it's not. It's more so concerned with the organization of information and how it's structured. And that's about it, right? And also introverted intuition is not trying to make a decision. It's more about insight, foresight, perceiving, whereas introverted thinking is more concerned with trying to conclude something, decide on something. Now let's talk about the learning style. Now for this section, I actually want to ask you guys to drop a comment down below on your type and your preferred learning style, because I want to share with you guys how TE and TI learn. So extroverted thinking types learn by surveying, collecting first and second-hand sources of information. Besides that, also tinkering is a huge thing for extroverted thinking types. They tinker, they push buttons, they play around, they see, okay, if I implement this, if I do this, what happens? A lot of experimentation, you could say, and tinkering overall is extroverted thinking. Extroverted thinking's way of understanding information and learning. Introverted thinking tries to learn by identifying underlying structures within the body of information that it's consuming and creating a principle out of that. Or not necessarily creating a principle, it could either try to create a principle or identify a pre-existing principle within the information that it's consuming. First principle reasoning. I think if you've ever heard of the concept of first principle thinking, a lot of people heard it from Elon Musk. And it makes sense because Elon Musk is a TI, introverted thinking valuing type. He's an ENTP. Besides that, questioning, asking a lot of questions is how introverted thinking types also learn. So it's very interesting to see the different learning styles of extroverted and introverted thinking. So yeah, that does it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, please make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and see ya.